Welcome to another Bible study in the morning. All right, so yesterday we talked about Genesis 18 and 19. And I was trying to figure out all the things about the three men and who were they, and Abraham and Sarah. Oh, you're lying to God. So now I'm in 2021, and I looked at it. So I'm following an app on my phone to read the Bible in a year in chronological order. And I was like, you know what? I want to read it from my actual Bible. And I have notes here that I've written probably 2 or 3 years ago when I was reading the Old Testament. Anyway, so I read it and I was like, oh, I don't need to do a Bible study in the morning. Like, you know, that was just something that stood out in my mind yesterday. I don't need to do it again. But yet, one thing that, this is where Abraham deceives Abimelech. Now, Abraham does the same thing twice. And I'll tell you what it is. So, Abraham moved, yeah. Okay. So we know about Lot and his daughters left, and the children became Moabites and Ammonites and all of that. And so Abraham moved south to the Negev and lived there for a while between Kadesh and Shur. And then he moved to Gerar. While living there as a foreigner, Abraham introduced his wife Sarah by saying, "Oh, this is my sister." So the King Abimelech of Gerar sent for Sarah and had her brought to him at his palace because she's really pretty. Like allegedly Sarah was like a baddie. And so Abraham was like, everywhere we go, people are gonna be trying to get at you. So just say I'm your brother so we don't have any beef. And so at nighttime, God came to Abimelech in a dream and told him, "You are a dead man, for that woman you have taken is already married. You out here committing adultery, my guy." But Abimelech, he didn't sleep with her yet. But I think he did something else. And this is why. But he haven't slept with her yet. So they didn't have sex. They weren't sexing yet. And he was like, "Lord, will you destroy an innocent nation? Like, didn't Abraham tell me she is my sister?" And she herself said, "Yes, that's my brother." So I acted in complete innocence. My hands are clean. And I appreciated that because I think this particular nation was considered godless. And the fact that Abimelech had this dream, the fact that God spoke to Abimelech in this dream, and then the fact that Abimelech recognized it as God in this dream and referred to him as Lord, this talks a lot about a lot of grace and mercy. Like, God couldn't have said nothing and still destroyed him and was like, "Why are you destroying my nation?" He's like, "Oh, you slept with a married woman." And he was like, "I didn't know that." But God was like, "I'm going to put you on game and tell you that this is what I'm going to do." And Abimelech was like, "Okay, cool." And no, because I didn't do anything wrong because they lied to me, basically. So God did acknowledge. He said, "Yes, I know you're innocent. That's why I kept you from sinning against me and why I did not let you touch her." So he's like, "I did not let you touch her." But then, okay. Return the woman to her husband and he will pray for you, for he is a prophet. Now imagine that. Imagine this man coming into your land, lying to you, saying that this woman is his sister. You take his wife, who he calls his sister, into whatever place he brought her to. God calls you out in a dream, and then in that same dream, God is like, "Oh yeah, he's a prophet. He'll pray for you." I don't want this Negro praying for me. He almost got my nation wiped out. He almost got me cursed with his lies, and he's a prophet. And that's me thinking. Because when I read that part, I said, if I was King Abimelech, I was like, "No, I'm good. I'll just return his wife to him, send him on his way, probably give him a few words, like, stop lying to people. You almost got me and my people killed," right? But I just think it's funny that he said Return the woman to her husband, and he will pray for you, for he is a prophet. Then you will live. But if you don't return her to him, you can be sure that you and all your people will die. Okay. But only if after he prays for, I don't know, something about that just really got me. I was like, and this is the thing about why in today's time when we have so much certainty about certain things, oh, I know God. It's like, you don't know. Because even here, like reading this, I'm just like, God, like, I don't know. I just would have been like, Abimelech, just heads up. My prophet lied to you. Return. This is not his sister. It's his wife. It's his half-sister, but it's his wife. I don't want you to be cursed. Just go ahead and do the thing, right? Like, that's what I would do if I was God. I wouldn't have my prophet out here lying, and I wouldn't even acknowledge him as my prophet. Like, you have me looking bad, and then I'm gonna have you praying over the people you lied to. But I just think my brain gets what I'm trying to say. I hope you all are as well. But anyway, so then Abimelech got up early the next morning and quickly called all his servants together. When he told them what happened, the men were terrified. Then Abimelech called for Abraham. What have you done to us? He demanded. What crime have I committed that deserves treatment like this, making me and my kingdom guilty of this great sin? No one should ever do what you have done. Whatever possessed you to do such a thing? Now, those are the words that I would have had. Like, why would you do that, basically? Abraham replied, he said, I thought that this is a godless place and that they will want my wife and they'll kill me to get her. So, you know? And he said, but in truth, she actually is my sister, for we both have the same father but different mothers, and I married her. So when God called me to leave my father's home and to travel from place to place, I told her, Sarah, do me a favor. Wherever you go, tell the people that I'm your brother. Now, Abraham, you're like, this is a godless place, so you thought it would be best to lie. Okay, fine. Because, you know, Rahab lied, and she was considered righteous because she lied for a good cause. And so I don't know if Abraham's lie was considered a good cause because Abraham knows what it is, I guess, and so he just didn't want any issues. But, and I mean, and in all fairness to Abraham, technically that actually is his sister. It's his sister wife. But it's his sister wife. And so technically he's not lying. But he just missed out. And so maybe we could say he lied by omission. Anywho, so Abimelech took some of his sheep and goats and cattle and male servants, and he presented them to Abraham. He also returned his wife Sarah to him. Then Abimelech said, look over my land and choose any place where you would like to live. He said to Sarah, look, I'm giving your brother 1,000 pieces of... First of all, that's funny. I don't think it was meant to be petty because I don't think they thought in those terms back then. But he said, look, I'm giving your brother. He could have been like, I'm giving your husband. Now that we've established that they're married, you could have just been like, I'm giving your wife back to you, right? He also returned his wife Sarah to him. But then Abimelech said, look over my land and choose any place where you like to live, to Abraham. And then to Sarah, look, I'm giving your brother 1,000 pieces of silver in the presence of all these witnesses. I just think that's funny. It's the little things that just really catches my attention. Like Abimelech, like, stop. Like, what? You returned his wife. Say I'm giving your husband, not I'm giving your brother. Felt like you're trying to be funny. Anyway. He's like, I just want to settle my claim or whatever. But this is something that got me. He said, this is to compensate you for any wrong I may have done to you. And that's why I was like, well, what could you have done to her if you did not touch her? What wrong could you have done? Like, maybe the way he looked at her, maybe the way that, I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. Like, I guess he's just saying, if there's any wrong knowingly and unknowingly, mostly unknowingly, if there's any wrong that I did that I'm not aware of, please let this absolve my things. And so that happened. And I think is this the first time? I think this is the first time that Abraham lied. Because, nope, this is the second time, right? Yeah, this is the second time. And so it's like, Abraham, you just out here just keep lying. Like, you know God is on your side, so then you don't have to lie like that anymore. Just come to the land, know that God got you, and let the people know that that's your wife. Like, why do you keep going on with the charade of you being, that's your sister? Like, and so we saw that when he did that, when he was in Egypt. So that's it. One thing, this is one thing that stood out to me. Then Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech, his wife, and his female servant so they could have children. For the Lord had caused all the women to be infertile because of what happened with Abraham's wife, Sarah. I personally think that's unfair. Because if God is saying, I know you are innocent, that's why I kept you from sinning against me, and why I did not let you touch her, then why would you have caused for all the women to be infertile and then also cause whatever illness to Abimelech? You know, like stuff like that doesn't make sense to me. And I'm like, why would you do that? And then I just had questions. I'm looking at the questions I wrote some years ago. Like, how did Isaac not have any birth defects, since Abraham and Sarah were half brother and sister? And I was like, and when did familial intermarriage become a non-thing? Because you see that a lot. Like, But anyway, in chapter 21, I was a little perplexed to why Hagar and Ishmael would make fun of Isaac. Because that's just mean. Like, what was the purpose of you making fun of them? Because at the end of the day, there's still a hierarchy. Like, you are a servant, and you had the master's Abraham's son, but you're still in the role of servant. And so now that Sarah, his legitimate wife, had a son, his legitimate son, and not that Ishmael wasn't his legitimate son back then, but it's just the idea of, why would you and your son make fun of them and not think anything bad was going to happen to you? And so they were sent out. Sarah was like, don't make fun of my kid. Abraham, let him go. And so now Hagar is out in the desert crying out to God, like, please don't let my son die, or I don't want to see him die. And of course, God provides a fountain of living water for her. And of course, Ishmael was blessed to have his own descendants, because he also said, go to him and comfort him. So this is God to Hagar, for I will make a great nation from his descendants. And so Ishmael still gets to have a great nation from his lineage. My brain wants to go somewhere else, and I think my brain wants to go to, I've heard of the theory that Isaac is the, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, right? So these are like the three fathers of the Jewish lineage in the Middle East. And so that Ishmael is then the father of Islam. So then you have the Jews, and then you have, I don't want to say the Islams, that sounds rude, right? I don't know. But that's a theory. I don't know if that's true. Someone let me know if that's true or not. But I think it's interesting that, because even in the Quran, they acknowledge Abraham, like the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, I think. Definitely Abraham. And so I'm wondering if this is where that divide happens, that we're still seeing today, that it's like these two different branches. There's like Abraham and his son Sarah, that God said that I'm going to grant you a nation. It's going to be wonderful and great and all that stuff. Those are the chosen people, and that's the Jews. And then this is like Sarah saying, well, it can't be me, so Abraham sleep with my servant and give her a baby, and that baby could be mine. But that was what it was. And so then we have Muslims. Is that right? Is it? I need to look it up. I'll look it up. And don't be rude in the comment section. Like, you don't know, I'm asking a question because I don't know. And I just want to know. And that's a theory that I've heard. And he said, yeah. His mother arranged for him to marry a woman from the land of Egypt. Okay. What else came up to me that I was just like, this is interesting. Please. Oh, so now Abraham. Okay, so Abimelech came to visit Abraham. He was like, can you please swear to me in God's name that you will never deceive me, my children, or any of my descendants? I have been loyal to you. So now swear that you will be loyal to me and to this country where you are living as a foreigner. I like Abimelech. I like this Abimelech. I think that he's just been fair throughout this whole thing. And I thought that he was a great example of being obedient, but also direct in speaking his mind, but also being humble. I think he, from my reading and interpretation of it, I think he balanced all three of those pretty well, because even with God, he's like, he honored God, and he was like, even though Abraham considered them a godless nation, Abimelech acknowledged that, knew it was God in his dream, acknowledged God, revered him, and called him Lord. But also was like, why would you do this thing to me, and I'm innocent, I didn't know this thing, right? And so he also advocated for himself in a respectful way. And then when he then followed God's direction and gave Sarah back to Abraham, he also said, like, why would you do such a thing? This is a horrible thing to do. Like, why would you even do it, right? And I just love that he wasn't like, I'm going to kill you. He was just like, I'm going to do what God told me to do. I'm going to advocate for myself. And I'm not going to admonish you, but I'm going to, but definitely like give you a word of like, this is something you don't need to do. Why would you do that? Like, I need to understand the logic, and I need you to hear yourself say it. But I also appreciated that Abimelech probably was like, I see how you move, Abraham. And so I'm just going to go ahead and be proactive and just kind of have you swear to your God that you're not going to be deceptive to me and my descendants. Like, that this seems to be something that's in your character, deception, and I just don't want myself or anyone else that I'm connected to deal with that. And I like that. I just like that. And I love how he also said, this is once again where I'm like, Abimelech, I think you were a little petty. He was like, loyal to me and to this country where you're living as a foreigner. Where he's like, I'm going to be respectful, and I'm also going to remind you your place. You are living in this land, but you are a foreigner. You actually don't belong here. So I just want to put you on game in my request. Abraham said, I swear by it. But then Abraham complained to Abimelech about a well that Abimelech's servants had taken by force from Abraham's servants. This is the first time I've heard of it, Abimelech answered. I have no idea who is responsible. You've never complained about this before. So once again, Abimelech is like, Abraham, like, to me, when I read it, I see it as Abimelech thinking like, listen, God ordained you as his prophet, and you are a man of God. In my eyes, you are a lying, deceitful man. And so I'm going to just obey God, but I'm also going to be aware of who you are and move accordingly. And I'm not going to like hold back. I'm going to say what I need to say, but I'm going to be respectful about it. And I like that, because nowhere in here was there any indication of anything happening. And there's details that are mentioned in the Old Testament, and it's like, why would they say that? And they'll give so much details about things. And so in this instance, I'm like, yeah, I didn't talk about Abimelech's people stealing stuff, you know? And so I love the fact that Abimelech was just like, okay, like, this is the first I'm hearing about it. I had no idea who's responsible and what's going on. You've never complained about this before. So, like, what do you want me to do? Like, this is new. So then Abraham gave him some of his sheep, goats, and cattle to Abimelech, and they made a treaty. But Abraham also took 7 additional female lambs and set them off by themselves. Abimelech asked, why have you set these seven apart from the others? Abraham replied, please accept these 7 lambs to show your agreement that I dug this well. Then he named the place Beersheba, which means well of the oath, because that was where they had sworn the oath. After making their covenant at Beersheba, Abimelech left with Phicol, the commander of his army, and they returned home to the land of the Philistines. Then Abraham planted a tamarisk tree of Beersheba, and there he worshipped the Lord, the eternal God. And Abraham lived as a foreigner in Philistine country for a long time. I don't know. I'm not feeling. I read this and I was just like, I'm not feeling you, Abraham. Like, something about it was giving punk. And I know that may sound like disrespectful to call the Father Abraham of many sons, how many sons of Father Abraham, a punk. But it's like you're moving funny. It's like you're moving without faith. And I think that comes up for us, right? Like sometimes we do and say things out of lack of faith and just wanting to protect us or wanting to have things. And so we do things and we're trying to be strategic, but we're really being manipulative. And it's like, why don't we just say the thing? Like, why couldn't he just say, just say, hey, I dug this well, and this is a well that I would like to have for my servants, my family, my people, my cattle. Like, I know that I'm a foreigner. I know that I deceived you and did wrong. I just would like, once again, kind of like I said in the video before, like Abraham, you hemming and hawing. Like 50, 40, 30, 20, 10. Like, bro, just ask Abimelech. Like, yo, I dug this well. Can this be for my servants? Instead of creating, because remember, I don't know, maybe this did happen, but instead of creating this idea of your servants took my servants by force about a well. You know what I mean? And it's like, Abimelech is like, I never heard of this before. Like, I don't know who's responsible. I don't know anything about this. You never complained about it before. But okay, sure. Like, and then Abraham like giving extra stuff, right? Oh, let me give extra. And in this extra, now I'm gonna ask for, can you now do this thing? And it just makes me think we get to do better. You are chosen as the prophet of the Almighty Elohim. You have seen the things that Elohim has done. You have seen the grace and the mercy that Elohim has bestowed. And so you don't need to be moving around crazy and like shiftless. Well, not shiftless, but like sneaky and doing all this like, you don't have to do that. And then I wonder if even though he saw those things, did he still doubt? I know. And then I think, well, Trina, once again, let's take it back to you. There are many things that God has saved you from. There are many things that you have seen and had no explanation. And yet still, there are things that you do because you're either impatient, you don't trust, you doubt, or you take inaction. Or there's ways that you probably are manipulative spiritually and not even know it, right? Because you don't trust. And so, you know, as I'm over here calling Abraham a punk, I just have to look at ways that, okay, when do I do that and why do I do that? And can I trust that even though I'm making requests or I'm asking or doing things, and humans who have the free will to do or say whatever they want to do or say or not do or say, that overall, I'm still the child of Yahweh, and all things will work out according to Yahweh's will, and if I'm in that, you know? So it's just something to, you know, nothing too heavy, nothing so deep and profound, just something to think about. Like, but I do appreciate like the humanity of these Old Testament characters because God uses them and God uses us. And whenever we are like, man, I can't believe I did that, God will still use you to even probably bless and pray for the person that you deceive. That is crazy. That's crazy. Ooh, child. Holler at Abimelech. Holler at those people who Christians or believers call godless and seem to have more sense than us at times. Holler at them, because King Abimelech could have been like, you know what, Abraham, I'm tired of you. Get out. Get out. But I think he was like, you know what, I don't want any smoke with God, so let me act right. But shout out. That still shows a level of reverence and understanding. And I'm like, and sometimes I feel like those that we consider the worldly folks sometimes have a better concept. Like, if you all are this thing and believe this thing and say you're this thing, then why would you behave this way? Why would you act this way? And then they're the ones that have better character than us. But once again, it shows us that God will still use us. And so instead of us being ashamed and beating ourselves up, we can highlight it, look in the mirror and go, you're being punkish, you're trying to be manipulative, you're being deceptive, you're being whatever it is. What's going on? Let's get to the root of that, because this is a symptom. Let's get to the root, take it to the Father, have that work out, and let's move accordingly. Okay, that's all. Bye.